Okay.
Okay, so we can start with our next speaker, Milos Belcevic. So please tell us shortly about yourself, and you can start if you're ready.
Sure. I'm ready. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes, we can see it.
Okay. Second. Yes. So I have a brief intro slide also in the presentation. Hello, everyone. Very happy to be here. Unfortunately, I injured my leg, so I won't be able to join in-person event. But if you're in Belgrade, come by. There will be a good panel discussion and networking as well. Today, we will talk about PRDs, or product requirements documents. And that's a bit of a heated topic in the community. Someone loves it, someone hates it. But the truth is maybe somewhere in between. Ben Horowitz and David Vaden, famous venture capitalist and technologist, said that PRD is the single most important document the product manager maintains. However, Ben Horowitz also said that this is written 15 years ago and is probably not relevant for today's product managers. Marty Kagan, founder of Silicon Valley Product Group and author of books such as Inspired, wrote a blog post on how to write a good PRD. However, he also said that PRD is an outdated document he rarely recommends to the clients. So whether you are team PRD is the worst thing ever or team PRD forever, maybe it's actually not a yes or no. Maybe the question is when and how do we use it? So actually, I don't want to talk about if PRD is dead or not. I would like to discuss best practices for going from a static document to alignment and collaboration. The session will be structured in two parts. The first is covering the topic in 5 steps, and the second one is discussion. So please, as we go through the presentation, feel free to add your questions in the chat right away, and also, of course, ask them later on. We will try to answer everything. I may not know the answers, or we may have different opinions, but I'll do my best to answer. When it comes to covering the topic, we will cover it in 5 steps. So first, discuss the rise and fall of PRD. Second, discuss value of a good PRD. Then 3 common pitfalls, 2 PRD examples, and then we will build a PRD together. Also, that's not everything. In the end, there will be a small gift, so stay tuned. And now, let me just briefly introduce myself before I continue. I'm Milos, as you know. I'm Senior Product Manager at Clarivate and TopTel. I worked for various clients ranging from an MIT startup to larger corporations. I have around 10 years of experience. And this year I wrote a book on using product management and product thinking for your life called buildyourway.me. And also I'm international and TEDx speaker. So that's all about me. Let's dig into the topic. The rise and fall of PRD. In a land far, far away, in some time before, people used to build software very differently. Nowadays, when we discuss software development, mostly agile is almost the default way of building things. However, in the past, it was very sequential, and we had different phases. So first we would have very extensive research, then we would have very extensive design, and then development, and then testing, and then release. This meant that PRD in its older forms was a very good tool because you needed to document all this research and all this design in as many details as possible. However, a group of people gathered in a ski resort in 2001. And if you're familiar with Manifesto for Agile Software Development, you know that is what I'm talking about. So a group of people who build software said this is not working for us and we want to change, and they literally changed the course of how we build stuff nowadays. They say we value people and their interactions over processes and tools. They said working software over extensive documentation and so on. So in atmosphere like that and in this new setting, PRD sort of fell back. It became forgotten and it became something unpopular and something that sort of works more in this waterfall way of doing things. However, nowadays, we have distributed teams, we have asynchronous collaboration, and writing culture and writing good documents and documentation is becoming crucial for companies so we can collaborate better, and PRD is making a comeback of a sorts. Next portion is value of a good PRD. So it's also up for discussion, and there are upsides and downsides to PRDs, but when it comes to value of a good PRD, in my opinion, there are two main segments. The first segment is internal and external alignment. Even if we go away from waterfall way of doing things, it's important to be aligned. It's important to have this clarity on what we are building and how and when and why. And PRD can become a single source of truth. Whether you are working for clients, so you have this external alignment, or you're in-house and working with your team, so you need internal alignment. Another big segment is continuous collaboration. If we treat PRDs like a living documents, and if we keep it updated and edited as we learn new things and explore and get new context, it's a great tool for collaboration. And teams, as I mentioned before, with companies that have good writing culture, use PRDs for collaboration as well. So these are two main values that a good PRD brings to the table. Next one is 3 common pitfalls. And this portion is all about things that can go wrong. Pitfall 1 is rigidity. So if you treat PRD not like a living document, and if it becomes very rigid and you don't update it with new information and you don't change it as you learn new things and have new context, it will become rigid. Antidote for that is flexibility. So PRD doesn't have to be something you write once and you're done, just like products are not something that we finish. We never finish product. We continue working continuously and continuously discover and improve. The same can go for PRD. You should be flexible, you should update it with the new learnings, and you should keep updating it as you go. The second pitfall is becoming outdated and irrelevant. So there's a common anti-pattern that when we write something, not just PRD, but in this case PRD, we sort of put it in the shelf and don't revisit it. Then it will become outdated and irrelevant, and it will be basically a waste of time and energy and not bring any value. Antidote for that is treating PRD like a living document. As we mentioned before, if it's something that you get back to, it's a starting point for discussions, it's something the team co-creates and collaborates around it, it will not become outdated, and it will continuously bring you value to the table. The last pitfall is adding too many details, becoming bloated and verbose. So that's another anti-pattern. When we start with a new product, or we start with a new initiative, we are very enthusiastic, and we decide to let's document all the possible details and add as much information as possible. However, if it becomes bloated, we will not use it. It will be hard to maintain, it will be hard to read, and it will decrease in value. Antidote for that is keeping it brief and tidy. And what do I mean when I say brief and tidy? It means finding a sweet spot between unclear and verbose. So let's imagine we are building a dating app and we want to have a success screen. Unclear would be a success screen when there is a match between users. We don't have enough information. Verbose would be something like when there is a match, a page needs to appear across the full screen that will show the message it's a match. And then we say what the screen will include almost every pixel and describe all the elements in very, very, very many details. However, a sweet spot is something in between. So we can say we need a success screen for every match that will excite the user and nudge them toward the next step, i.e. exchanging messages. Then we add must-have elements and additional context. And this sweet spot, it's also a relative thing. So depending on your team and if they work together before, if they're more or less experienced, it can be even more brief. So for instance, style should match brand and accessibility standard. It's a default, it's a given. So it's something we could remove with the experienced team. Now we'll take a look at two PRD examples from the real life. And those are really interesting to me. They are both very lean and brief. So the first one is product hunt for people who love products. Since you're at this conference, most likely you're familiar with the platform, but if not, do check it out. It's very great. It's a place to launch and discover new products. The wireframe has less than 15 pages with wireframes. Sorry, the PRD has less than 15 pages, including wireframes and different details. It is very lean and clear, and it has 4 core areas plus addition. If you scan the QR code, you can see the document in original form, but basically it has intro and goal. Then it has who is it for, why build it, and what is it. And it's very interesting the way they start from the user. It's very oriented towards the audience. So we first say who's it for, why build it, and then what is it. And then it has the addition, which contains brainstorm ideas, tech notes, go to market, and so on. The next PRD is from Lenny's podcast. It's another recommendation if you're not already following him. It's the biggest business newsletter on Substack with 500,000 readers. And he also has a famous podcast, and it's very interesting. Writes and talks about product. So he has a one-pager. And again, you can also scan the QR code and get the real document. No need to do it now, though. You will get the presentation and it will be available later on as well. It is also very lean and clear, and it is structured in a way that there are 8 questions. So first one is description, or what is it? Then the problem. What problem are we solving? Then why? How do we know this is a real problem and worth solving? Then success. So how do we know that the problem is solved? Audience. Who are we building for? What? Roughly, what does the what does the feature look like in a product, or what does the product look like, how, what is the experiment plan, and when. So roughly when does it ship and what is the timeline. It's very interesting, similar to the previous one, but also super lean and super clear. And PRD doesn't need to be a document on 50 pages or document as large as a phone book. It can be a simple one-pager with additions. And speaking of that, for the end, let's build a PRD together. So this is template I use. Also can be changed and adapted to your context. So feel free to reuse it, edit it, adjust it as you see fit. The first element would be the header, then document purpose, then executive summary. Then we will have who, why, what. Then we have what not, because I really believe it's important to say what we are not building and be conscious about that and mindful about that. And then there is optional additions. So speaking of building PRD together, I had a good business idea, and disclaimer is if you use the idea and become a millionaire, please do remember me. So our product is Positive Pair, a dating app for dogs. And here we have some brand ambassadors from the internet. And on the far right, my French assistant, Knox, who's interested in finding play dates. When we start with the header, it's almost just like a sticker with information about the document. Now it's September, and if you have kids, everything is go back to school mode. So it's almost like those stickers that go on notebooks or books. So we say project name, customer if it's externally facing, or maybe initiative if it's internal. We have PM and we have a date. Then we go on to document purpose. And it can be very short, almost a few sentences. So in this case, we said that the purpose is to set the scope of the product, to put in context different technologies, feature sets, and possibilities for development, and to set a context for team needs, a roadmap, and the estimation. Then we go on to the executive summary. And executive summary in itself can also be like a small miniature PRD. In this case, I have a template that I say what, the challenge, how, and why. But of course, you can change it and adjust it the way you like to. So when it comes to what, Positive Match is a mobile application designed to connect dog owners and their canine companions for enriching playdates and social interactions. In a world where pets are cherished family members, our app seeks to foster new friendships and create joyful experiences for both dogs and their owners. Our challenge is that dog owners often face challenges in finding suitable playmates for their pets. Many dogs thrive on social interaction and exercise, but identifying compatible playmates can be time-consuming and frustrating. And then we say how and why. Positive Match addresses the problem by simplifying the process of connecting like-minded dog owners. It is an intuitive and user-friendly platform that leverages modern technology to match dogs and their owners, based on compatibility factors such as breed, size, age, energy level, and location. Users can create profiles for themselves and their dogs, browse potential matches, and initiate playdates request effortlessly. After executive summary, we go into the PRD. So the first item is who, and we define it as dog owners that are looking for playmates, and pet-related services and goods advertisers. So those are our main two audiences. Why? because it's hard and cumbersome to find good companions and like-minded owners. Play is healthy, beneficial for dogs. Social activities are beneficial for pet owners, and the app is a seamless solution. We go into what? Mobile application designed to connect dog owners and their canine companions for enriching playdates and social interactions. A user-friendly platform leveraging compatibility factors such as breed, size, age, energy level, and location. Then we go into what not. And it's always important, in my opinion, to say what you're not building. Not a dating app for humans, not a web app, and for now, no features for adoption ads. In the optional portion, if we go back to our purpose, we would add items around team needs, around roadmap, feature set, what technology we would use, etc. But in this case, I decided to just have a brief overview over different elements that you can use as addition to your PRD. So you can add key features, you can add user flow, mockups and diagrams, competitor landscape, market overview, tech stack, tech solution fit, monetization strategy, go-to-market strategy, ideal team structure and roles, potential pitfalls. You can add the timeline and so on. So in addition, you can expand as much as needed, so it can go up to like 10, 15 pages, or you can keep it very brief and tidy. Even the one-pager with the header, document purpose, summary, who, why, what, and what not, in my opinion, covers the needs of alignment. So this is all for today, and Nox says thanks. Or maybe it's not the end. I promise that we will have a gift as well. So recently I wrote a blog post on this topic. It goes more in depth and has many more details. So you can scan the post and read the blog, or you can scan the QR code and use the free PRD template, the one that we discussed right now. And so this is the real end of the first portion and of the presentation. Feel free to add me on social media and connect. And now I would like to see if there are any questions already in the chat, or if you have any question, and use the remaining time for a discussion.
Thank you very much for this interesting presentation. Any questions? Anyone want to share anything from practice or to ask?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi, Milos, very interesting topic, a nice presentation. Thank you for that. Sort of a comment / question. So what I see, and I see parallel with in sort of say in life with your topic, is that some companies are using epics just in a way as you described the product requirement document. So basically as a more or less high-level document explaining what is the purpose, etc., all these things that you said. So I see that as a sort of, I don't know, maybe declining from product requirement document as such, because of all the things that this document bear, as you said, with it, but also obviously there is a need for that kind of document. So I see the companies using epics, and then epic is furthermore split into a more detailed user stories and more detailed in a sense of particular parts of the feature. So do you have any comments to that? Thank you.
Sure. Yes, I think it's a really good comment, and I agree with you. I think it's when we have like Jira or whatever tool we use, it becomes like a small living ecosystem, and then it makes sense to use epics instead of like PRD as PRD. What I noticed in some cases, also we can have a theme, and then we have epics underneath, and then the theme is like a PRD page. And in my experience, usually a PRD as a separate document is used more for external facing, like with clients rather than in-house. So maybe it's more used in that sense. But I totally agree with you. And I think in the end, as long as we have alignment and collaboration, it doesn't matter if it's a PRD or in what form or shape it is. But yeah, totally agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. Any other questions?
I hope to have a half-time presentation, another half discussion, but there seems to be not many questions.
If you're shy to ask, you can write the question in the chat. And also I will share a screen so you can give us feedback about this presentation.
Milos, while we're waiting for the other people to maybe put in the chat their questions, I just would like to sort of have a little discussion with this. What's rambling into my mind is the question. You know, as you described at the beginning, at least to me, product requirement document is something pretty detailed, and the main purpose is to hand over the thoughts, analysis, discussions that we had at one phase to translate them to another phase, to take it to another phase. So what I'm thinking is, if we're changing the structure, the main structure of the document, if you're using it as in the way that you described, should it be called the product requirement document? Just, I'm now speaking not from the perspective that much of product management, but just from the perspective of using the language. You know, should we use the product requirement document term for something that is pretty much different from its original? So, or should we find another term to use? I don't have any specific stance upon it. It's just now that I've been listening to you, that just popped up into my mind. So just sharing what I'm thinking about, and then I would like to hear also your views on it.
Yeah, thanks, Frederick. I think it's a great question. I must admit, I used PRD a bit as sort of a teaser, because it's like a heated debate, and maybe if it's changed that much, it's actually something different. Maybe we shouldn't call it PRD. On the other hand, maybe if we go from this previous context where there is a handover, maybe if there is no handover, but we continuously edit like small parts, it's still a PRD in a way, just used differently. But I also am not sure about, but a good point. Yeah. And maybe in some companies it can also, another, I think, pitfall is that it stimulates the waterfall way of thinking a bit if we are not changing it continuously.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I'm just thinking, you know, if you were in a company now that is thinking of the processes and documentation, etc., and then you start talking about the product requirement document, people that have the experience working in a more traditional way might get, the first picture might be like, no, please don't.
Yeah.
And then you don't you don't get a chance to explain what you mean by that. So that might be the reason why not using the PRD as a term, maybe to find another term. I don't know. I mean, as I said, this is just thinking. I don't have any strong views on it.
Thanks. Yeah, that's a very great point. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Milos.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we have also one question in the chat. How long does it usually take to create a PRD? How many people does it usually involve?
Wow, I think it really depends, and maybe also others can share their experiences. Sometimes it's just like in my case, I had gigs with clients where the PRD would be the main outcome or the main delivery, and it took me 2 to 3 weeks, and I would reach out internally for like developers or people I needed opinion on or help with in terms of estimation, tech stack, and so on. But I believe that it's great that, like we have in product discovery, in continuous discovery habits by Teresa Torres, we have the discovery trio, the product trio. It's great that it's also not just PMs, but that we involve developers, design, QA, and so on. So I think the more people, the better. And also, if it's a living document, then it's never completely finished, and we revisit it and keep it updated. But I'm also curious about others' experiences, if someone would like to share.
So you can join conversation, or you can put your comments or questions in. So we have one more. If we have extensive product documentation, how do we create the most comprehensive PRD? What is the most appropriate way?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the PRD should be like a summary, and then you can reference documentation in additional portion in that optional segment. One thing that pops to my mind is that you should also be careful not to have same information in 2 places. So don't, if you somehow can embed or directly link this documentation, that would be better than having copy paste and having multiple versions, because then there's no single source of truth. So it can be problematic. But yeah, I think it depends on the use case. I would most likely have PRD as a summary or as a guiding document, and then links to detailed documentation. But this is just my opinion. So I suggest, play with it and see what works best for your team.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other comments, questions, or anything that you want to share? Again, if you have time, please go to menti.com and use this code so you can leave feedback. Do we have any other questions or comments? Okay, we have one more question. When writing PRD for new version of legacy app that has no documentation at all, where to start?
That's also a good question. I would start sort of from the top and try to have this most important summary first, and then do more detailed additions as we go on. So maybe even start in parallel. So we have the PRD one-pager, and then as you write documentation, you reference documentation in addition. So, but I think usually I would start from this structure and then into smaller details.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to join conversation or send us feedback maybe? Okay, we have one more question. Does PRD also include customer feedback at some point?
I think, yeah, this is also a good question. I think it really depends on your team. Depending on how you gather the feedback, maybe you can quote it or reference to the feedback, but I think it's good in a way that like you could have a section, what does this mean for our customers? And then if you have some feedback around most valuable portions of the app and so on. But it really depends, and I don't have strong opinions. Yeah.
Thank